Hello and welcome back to this week in Biotech. Today it's edition number 64, covering biotech and pharma news from August 1st to August 7th, 2025. And I'm currently in Canada visiting family, and it's a beautiful day outside. I was hoping to record outside, but the internet or the Wi-Fi here in rural Canada is a little spotty, and so I have to be inside and hope for the best that this is going to record. There's a lot of Q2 earnings coming out this week, but also I think enough to cover in this week's episode. So first thing I wanted to mention was RFK's slashing of federal mRNA funding. So the U.S. Health Secretary RFK Jr. canceled over $500 million in federal funding tied to mRNA vaccine development, including contracts with Moderna and Pfizer. The decision wipes out 22 BARDA-backed deals and effectively removes mRNA from the government's biodefense toolkit. Kennedy cited concerns over mRNA safety and efficacy in respiratory diseases, which is a viewpoint that directly contradicts the scientific consensus and undermines the technology's proven track record in COVID-19 pandemic. Critics argue that this decision isn't just anti-science, it's anti-strategy, pulling U.S. preparedness efforts back a decade, while global competitors like the EU, China, South Korea continue ramping up mRNA investment for not only infectious diseases, but also cancer and autoimmune targets. I think it's the smaller, innovative companies, those who have deep pockets, that will suffer most from this decision. I think we can expect a ripple effect on R&D pipelines and investor confidence in mRNA. Next is news about Sarepta. I've been kind of covering them pretty heavily in the last few weeks, but Sarepta delivered a win that they needed. They had definitely a year of stock pain, regulatory tension, and so they had a little win this week. They actually reported their Q2 revenues, and they surged 60% year over year to $611 million US, blowing past expectations. And much of that came, even though the sales of Elevidys are down, much of that came from Elevidys in gene therapy for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which brought in $282 million US, which is more than double than prior year. The company also received almost $64 million US milestone payment from Roche after Elevidys was approved in Japan, and saw international royalties begin to roll in. Meanwhile, older PMO therapies like Exondys and Vyondys held up reasonably well despite minor year-over-year declines. Shares jumped over 7% on the news yesterday. Next is Eli Lilly's new data that sort of flopped against sky-high expectations. So the company reported solid data from its phase 3 orforglipron trial, up to 12.4% weight loss over 72 weeks, with 60% of patients losing more than 10% of their weight. The once-daily oral GLP-1 was also well tolerated, with side effects in line with injectables. But the market was unimpressed. Lilly's stock tumbled 12 to 14%. And why is this? Well, the placebo-adjusted results came in below expectations, and dropout rates due to GI side effects were higher than expected. Rivals like Novo Nordisk's Wegovy already dominating, and oral challengers like Viking and Structure Therapeutics closing in, Lilly's candidate suddenly looks less disruptive than hoped. These results definitely aren't bad. They're not just as blockbuster enough as expected and to justify the hype. In a market that expects GLP-1 drugs to be magic pills, anything short of spectacular feels like a miss. But I wouldn't write off orforglipron yet. It might still win with patients who hate needles. Next is FDA lifts pause on Valneva's chikungunya vaccine for seniors. Valneva got a welcome boost this week as the FDA lifted its temporary pause on the company's chikungunya vaccine called IXCHIQ for people aged 60 and up. The updated prescribing info now includes clear warnings about serious adverse events seen in elderly individuals with chronic health conditions. The move mirrors a similar decision from the European Medicines Agency last month. IXCHIQ remains available in the US for adults 18 plus who are at high risk of chikungunya exposure, though the FDA emphasized that most travelers don't need it. This is definitely good news for Valneva, but also a reminder of how hard it is to commercialize outbreak vaccines with small addressable markets. Still, with climate change expanding mosquito habits, demand for this vaccine against chikungunya protection may grow faster than we think. Next is Genmabs' follicular lymphoma trial that hit 96% response rate. The company is making waves with its bispecific antibody epcoritamab, which in combination with rituximab and lenalidomide showed 95.7% overall response rate and 79% reduction in disease progression in a phase 3 trial for relapsed refractory follicular lymphoma. And the FDA has accepted the drug for priority review with a decision expected by November 30th, 2025. If approved, this would be the first bispecific antibody combo available as second-line treatment in the US, and with subcutaneous delivery, it's positioned as a highly convenient option. This is best case scenario for Genmab, blockbuster efficacy, favorable safety, and potentially first-in-class US approval. I expect this to become a cornerstone asset with plenty of expansion opportunities across B-cell malignancies. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about Replemune. I talked about this company last week in connection to Vinay Prasad. The stock went up about 100% after Vinay Prasad departed from the FDA, and this is because investors thought that the complete response letter that the company recently received for RP1, which is its oncologic immunotherapy, was directly linked to Vinay Prasad. However, this week the stock tanked about 40% again, and this is because there are new reports suggesting that this surprise rejection for RP1 was connected to someone else. Apparently the drug had initial support before a senior cancer division official reversed course just ahead of approval, so it seems it wasn't so directly linked to Vinay Prasad. So it seems that now the rejection appears tied to deeper internal conflict, and investors are reassessing and maybe not as optimistic anymore. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you had a fantastic week and you have a great weekend ahead, and I'll see you back next week. I'll be in Canada again with hopefully a better background and better internet connection. Okay, bye-bye.